right, welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Forgotten Firsts. Yes, this is the second video I'm dropping today to try to play a little bit of catch-up and still talk about some more of this horror character-type stuff, because I'm, again, just all about Halloween right now. That being said, also be mindful that I'm going to be on the Nerd Herd show later on today, and we're also going to be talking about horror stuff, so if you aren't following them, make sure you go and subscribe to, Team Nerd Herd and watch me and Ben C go hang out with those guys tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So mark your calendars. Go check that out as well. Maybe I'll try to put a link in down below so you guys can get there quickly. That all being said, hopefully you like this content as well as all the stuff I'm putting on the channel. If you are, please like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. Keep telling your friends so I can keep growing the channel. And yeah, we got Forgotten First again. So we're going to be talking about some first appearances of some interesting horror icons today. And if you want to see what we're about to talk about, just hang on for 1 second after the intro and I'll be right back. Okay, so as I noted in the open, we are going to be looking at those horror icons this week. Just those classic characters that I'm sure everybody knows at this point. They're just synonymous with the holidays, the horror movies. These are the top tier characters that immediately, I think, jump to most of our minds when we think about it. So the first one we are going to hit up is going to be Jason Voorhees. Yes, Jason from Friday the 13th is absolutely an icon. I mean, that hockey mask, the machete. I mean, is there anything else more synonymous with this holiday? Well, maybe there is, but there's not many. There's definitely not many. Now, since we're talking about first appearances, we're going to jump around like a little bit as we talk about each of these characters, because while I do mostly focusing on comics, there's other things out there as well that we just want to be mindful of. Now, we're not going to be talking about first movies because, obviously, we can go through the movies, but that's not what this is about. But in what little bit of research I found in this May 1980 issue of Famous Monsters, this has some exclusive photos and introduces Jason Voorhees in this issue. So issue 163 of Famous Monsters, which has a horrifying cover in and of itself. This is one of the first appearances, I think, of Jason in, I guess, print, I guess you want to call that. Again, I'm not going to say with any definitive answers as to what's the first is, because this is just some quick research that I did of what I could find. So there may be earlier printings that would be more in line with what Topher can find out and dig out and suss out for us. But in what I just quickly went through and found, this popped up as a first for Jason Voorhees. So if we want to talk about comics for him, though, I'm surprised it was this late in the run, but Jason Goes to Hell, the Topps comics from 1993. I think it's really the first time we see him in comics. I don't know if it was like a licensing thing or what, but this is what I dug out. So Jason Goes to Hell is what you want to be looking for. And this is actually not a cheap book. If you go looking, this, this thing kind of sells. We're talking 20. Look, best offers there: $25, $30, and if you get issues 1 through 3, that's $60. So these are not cheap issues if you were to find them. Just definitely interesting. And as I stumbled across Jason is synonymous with Halloween, I guess that's not entirely true, considering Halloween brought us Michael Myers. So I guess we kind of have to look at Michael Myers too, obviously. But maybe he's the bigger draw for Halloween. I don't know. You tell me which one you think is more the first one that comes to your mind when you think of Halloween. Do you think of Michael Myers? You think of Jason Voorhees? Just curious. But Michael Myers, apart from being, I believe there was some print, the novelizations where he was in print, but not really the picture books that we like to talk about. But this issue from 1982, which actually is talking about Halloween 3, is really when we start seeing him in magazines. And this Famous Monsters issue 189 is the first one that I could see that definitely had him in there. I mean, again, there might be earlier issues, but this was the first one that I sussed out in my little research for this little article. But I wasn't so much concerned about magazines because, again, those are side notes. Those are extra footnotes that a lot of us like to look at and sometimes collect. But going to the comic book world, again, it took a while. November 2000, Chaos, Chaos from Lady Death, or synonymous, I guess, with Lady Death, as that's their big draw these days. Evil Ernie back in the day. Halloween 1 from 2000 is first in comics. And there's a lot of covers for this, some variants, glow in the darks and what have you. Awesome cover, obviously, the original poster. Definitely a cool look. And this thing, does all right for itself too. Like this could move for about $80. You can see for that photo cover, and then this particular cover here, which I believe is a glow in the dark, is best offer on $100. They still got 90 for it, so definitely not cheap. This first appearance of Michael Myers in comics, and I know the recent Halloween Kills just came out, so I'm sure it's fresh on a lot of people's minds, and they're looking for these types of books and these issues because you can see at this time of year there's a lot more sales in these books than at other times, obviously. Now, one of my personal favorites when I was growing up, I was always a big fan of Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. So we're going to be looking at Freddy next. I mean, I don't know. I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 7 years old in the theater, like different times. Like I wouldn't take my son to see something like that, but I don't know. My parents were fine with it. And I think I turned out quite all right. That being said, Freddy Krueger was definitely one of my favorites. Like I said, I really like episode 3 too. It was almost like they were like X-Men when they had their dream powers, the Dream Warriors one. But that notwithstanding, we're going to talk about Freddy's firsts. We got a couple of things to kind of talk about as far as print and comics goes. And the first I think is in here in this Metal Hurlant issue 132, which this is like a French magazine. You can see Freddy Krueger appears in this little publication. I think it was like an anthology over in Europe. Definitely an interesting little book there. But if we want to talk about on this side of the pond, we're looking at this Marvel magazine from October 1989 with Freddy Krueger's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And yes, the movie itself came out, like I said, I think it was 1984, the first movie. So it took a while for him to find his way into like the comic scene and whatnot. So this is definitely an interesting cover. I dig it. You can see there, pretty awesome art. And this thing I think is also like a $50 book if you could find it, this magazine. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. But if you're thinking just comics alone, then we're going to be looking at this book from Innovation. Innovation had a lot of these weird like horror titles that you want to keep an eye out for too. I think like Nightbreed and things like that even got printed into comics by Innovation. But in September of 1991, Nightmare on Elm Street had this. So in comics, I think this is the first Freddy. And this one isn't that expensive if you go and find it out there. If you go digging, you can see there was one that sold just on October 26th. $16.50 was the ask, and the best offer accepted was only $13. So this one's not as pricey as the last couple, but still worth noting. And if we're going to move on to a character we are going to get in a newer adaptation, I guess you would say, but the character's going to be changed because now we're going to get a female version. But if we want to talk about Pinhead and Hellraiser, then we got a few things kind of to go over. Because, again, he wasn't named Pinhead at first. He was, just in Hellraiser. I don't even know if they really had names, the Cenobites or whatever they were called. I can't even remember. It's been so long since all the Hellraiser movies, but a lot of fun there. Maybe I should rewatch those this weekend. But 1989, this comic scene, you can see they're previewing issue 10, by the way. They're previewing the Hellraiser comic here. So I think this is one of those early appearances in magazines, in print and comics and what have you for Pinhead. It was pretty early on. And you can see they are calling him Pinhead there, but that was more of a nickname for the character because, again, that's what people just looked at him. He had all the nails in his head. That's not what he was called, like in the actual films or anything like that. So when we talk about in March of 1989, this Clive Barker Hellraiser comic from Epic, I'm not even sure if he's actually inside the guts of this book, but he is on the cover of this #1. He might not show up till issue 2. That I'm not 100% on. I don't really recall. Don't have any of these handy to flip through, but still, interesting little book, little anthology. As you can see the different creative teams being listed there on the front. This is definitely an interesting book. But then I think he really the print really embraced the name of Pinhead in the comics and whatnot here in this Pinhead versus martial law from November of 1993. So this little crossover again from Epic where you have, I think it was a UK character and Pinhead for whatever reason. Foil cover, definitely a sign of the times, definitely 90s all day. When you look at this thing, it's 2-issue series, but yeah, so there was this, and this was followed up, I think, pretty soon. Again, I think this is first, as Pinhead in the comics or what have you. But then they also have this, another foil, again, sticking with those 90s. Just keep an eye out for this Marvel and Epic, this Pinhead mini series for him. Definitely interesting stuff if you're into that kind of thing. Yeah, definitely weird. But we're gonna go back to the Clive Barker Hellraiser comic because that's the one I went and dug up and looked up, and you can see this thing still sells. There's 3 sales all in October here, about $20 in most cases, and yes, even that best offer on 30, they accepted $20. This is like a $20 book if you can, find it out there, or if you're looking, I guess. So keep that in mind. Again, pretty awesome art there too on this one. I do like that painted cover. And for our last character we're going to hit up is another one who's got a recent reboot. I think it's a new TV show on USA, or at the very least, I keep seeing it promoted on USA, and that's Child's Play, or Chucky. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows Chucky at this point, right? And it's kind of fun that Brad Dourif is doing the voice still, after all these years for the character. Yeah, definitely pretty cool. I think the actual first all around for Chucky, as far as I could tell, is another comic book. And this is also, like I said, from Innovation. Innovation did a lot of these horror characters back in those early 90s. So in May 1991, Child's Play, issue 1 seems to be the first book. And I think Derek Robertson did some early art in here on this one. So definitely a little fun little nugget of information. But this, as you can see, this is like $30 book if you can find it. This is from over the summer, that sale, so it's been a while. But apart from that, there was a few issues in the series, so you can see issues 1 through 3 together just sold October 9th, $75 for a 3-issue run. So this isn't that easy to come by. Not a lot of sales either out there for this. So keep an eye out for it. But that's what you're talking about. It's like a $25, $30 book if you can find issue 1. Just keep that in mind if you're out there digging. And yeah, so that's some of the firsts, or the first that I could find for these horror icon characters. Hopefully you found that kind of interesting. I kind of wanted to look into it because, again, it's Halloween season. So this is the kind of thing I wanted to talk about and kind of get into. And hopefully you were enjoying that and kind of getting in the spirit as well. It's just kind of fun stuff. Because like I said, these are comics after all. This hobby needs to be fun. Let's not take everything so seriously and not just worry so much about flipping and all that stuff all the time. Like, it doesn't always have to be about that. It can just be about just appreciating comic books. And that all said, hopefully you're enjoying that as well as enjoying the other stuff here on the channel. I appreciate you all. Thanks for stopping by and checking it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know some of the things that you want to see more of, especially in regards to this Forgotten series, of which I do Forgotten Firsts, Forgotten Variants, Forgotten Later printings. Let me know which one you want to see more on the regular, because I'm gonna have to kind of cut down the volume of videos I do, because just day job is getting a little bit busier and going back into the office as times are going back to normal a little bit. So I don't know, might not have as much free time as I once did. So gonna have to work out the schedule a little bit. So I'd appreciate you guys letting me know what you like best and what you want me to focus my efforts on, whether it be chasing ghosts or this type of stuff. That all said, once again, thank you. Appreciate you all, and I will see you all soon with some more videos.